Welcome to a demo of Cubo Insights. This particular demo is focused on sales and marketing related use cases and data sets. So this is the web interface for Cubo. I'm going to log in as Jason over here. And as soon as I log in, I get some information about how people have been using this tool over the last few days or even months. So you get an idea of the top kinds of queries people have been asking, as well as the different data available. So in this particular demo, we have data from a CRM system. So we can ask questions about accounts and campaigns and opportunities. There's also some marketing automation data. So things about emails, campaigns, and email sends. There's data from Google Analytics about web traffic. And finally, there's data from an SEO system that gives information about search query stats and competition, at least from a search point of view. So the way we start engaging with Cubo is by creating a new thread of conversation. So let me do that. As soon as I create a new thread, let me call this marketing demo. As soon as I start this new thread, I get some information about the kinds of data available and the kinds of questions that I can ask. So again, the same data that we saw before is all available for me to ask. And let me start with some lead analysis. So I want to get some idea of how many leads are coming into our platform over the last few months or years. So I can ask a question like number of leads created in the last 24 months. As soon as I ask a question, the whole goal is that you can ask questions in plain English, in natural language, and the system is able to understand it and decide which data set, whether it's the CRM data, marketing automation data, web traffic data, SEO data, and so on, which data set might be best suited to answer this question. And further, it reinterprets this question so as to make it clear what the meaning of the question is. So it tells us how it interpreted in the last 24 months. It also told us how it's interpreted, how it's used 24 months to filter the leads based on the creation timestamp. So over here we see that about 2,546 leads were created in the last 24 months, specifically between Jan 1st and December 2019 and December 31st, 2020. So I can zoom in over here and even get an idea of the actual backend query, the SQL query that went to the backend data, in this case the marketing automation CRM tool, to understand exactly how that data was produced. So in case I had any doubts about the veracity or the correctness of this data, I can refer to this table or this database and make sure that this interpretation is correct. So the whole point of a conversational analytics system is that we can keep asking questions in natural language and keep refining it. So have a dialogue with the data. So I can further say by month, for instance, and now instead of a single number, it's going to give me a monthly chart of how many leads were created each month from January 2019 to December 2020. I can then further say by lead status, just to get an idea of which kinds of leads were created each month. And now we see that Cubo asks clarification. So whenever there's ambiguity, since natural language is inherently ambiguous, Cubo will figure out if a given question could be interpreted in different ways. So in this case, it's asking, did I mean that I want the number of leads just by lead status, so only group by lead status? Or did I mean that I want the number of leads by both lead status and by month? So let me go and say by both lead status and month. So now I get a bigger data set. And again, the system is automatically figured out that since this is a big data set, a table view is more appropriate. But if I want, I can go and change this. And let's say I want to change this to a line chart. So now I can see it as a line chart. So in this particular case, we see that there are 6 kinds of lead statuses: contact opportunity, customer, open, qualified, and unqualified. So this kind of looks interesting. There have been ups and downs in number of leads being created each month over the last 24 months. Let me add this to a board. And this is a concept like Pinterest, for instance, where as soon as I find some interesting image or analysis, I can add it to a board and I can further dig into this. So we see a huge number of leads that were unqualified created early on. Not really interested in that. So let me take this out of the picture. And let's also focus in the last few months. In the last few months, we see that there's been an increasing number of contacts as well as especially qualified leads. So let me take out the other ones. So if we just focus on qualified leads, which is probably the most important kind of leads, there's been a steady increase in the number of leads being created in the last few months. So let's dig into that. So now we're going to switch over and ask some questions for Google Analytics. So I can ask a question like total sessions monthly. And the hypothesis is that maybe more people are coming into our website. This is more web traffic, which is driving more leads being created, especially qualified leads. So now I see total number of sessions monthly. So the system automatically figured out that it's going to now look at Google Analytics data to create this particular chart. Let me also add this to the board so that I can preserve this and keep digging into this. And now we do see a slight increase in the number of sessions in the last few months, which might explain the rise in number of leads. But let's add another metric. So Google Analytics provides different metrics like number of sessions, but also provides other interesting metrics like session duration, bounce rate, page views per session. So let me add the average session duration, which is typically in seconds, into this chart just to get an idea. So here we do see that in September, October of 2020, there was a big increase in the average session duration, which kind of gives a sense of how engaged these users were, how much time they spent on the website. So that's interesting. And in fact, there's a big jump from September compared to August. So one of the key features of Cubo is that you can ask why questions. So which to dig into possible reasons why something happened. So I can ask a question like, why is the average session duration in September 2020 more than August 2020? Right. So one of the nice things about this platform is that I can keep switching between the natural language based conversational approach and digging into data using UI approaches. And depending on the flow, one might be better than the other. So here the system has figured out the biggest reasons why the average session duration in September was much more than in August. So it's reported this as sessions coming in from a remarketing platform called Perfect Audience had a big increase. Sessions coming in from referrals had a big increase. Sessions coming in from Stamford and Middletown, they had a big increase. So let's also put this into the board so I can preserve this. So this is interesting. So there's at least 2 cities which have seen a big increase in the number of sessions coming in. And maybe these are cities that we need to target through either paid ads or other means for driving even more leads potentially into our platform. So let's go and dig into the city level view. So I can say refine and show by city. Again, this is a conversational system. So at any point I can dig into some kind of into an analysis in different ways. So now it's showing me which cities had the biggest increase in session duration. So I see that sessions from Cebu in the Philippines, Middletown, and Stamford all had big increases, which all is quite interesting. So I'm going to add this to the board as well and preserve this analysis. So now I'm going to switch back into the CRM and marketing automation part of the data sets, and see which campaigns might be the biggest factors of driving more leads coming to the system. So apart from the traffic itself, what's driving this traffic? So let's say what are the top 5 campaign names that are giving me the leads? All right, so now it's going to look at the whole data set from 2015 to 2020, and now we see that Most leads actually came from no campaigns, but LinkedIn also gave a fairly large number of campaigns. But let's actually refine this question. So instead of just saying top 5 campaign names for the leads, let's see top 5 campaign names of the qualified leads. So I just edited the question to add in the extra condition. And now let's see how this looks. So now, interestingly, for qualified leads, direct traffic and Google search became bigger factors. Also, the Slack group is kind of interesting. Let me add this to the board and let's do some further analysis. So let me add a new filter over here and say only show me those leads created in the last 6 months, right? So we filter this and apply the changes. And now let's see how things might change the last 6 months. So the last 6 months, LinkedIn is lesser. Google search is also there. And let's keep Google search in mind because you want to come back to that for the SEO related analysis. But the biggest campaigns are Michael Bent's Slack group, Michael Bennett's Slack group, and Uplead. And Uplead is one of those systems that give us lists of customers that could be targeted. So that's in terms of leads. Let's see how these leads have progressed into more full-scale opportunities. So let's see our top 5 campaign names that didn't just give us leads, but went into opportunities. So now it's going to focus more on the opportunities, and again, most opportunities do not come from campaigns, but again, Uplead had a reasonably high number of campaigns of leads that turned into opportunities. So I'm going to add this to the board as well, and I'm going to do some more filtering. So now let's focus on the last 6 months, just like before, and see how that changes things. So now Uplead is the one that gave us the most number of opportunities. But let's see how these opportunities progress. So which ones actually progressed? So one way of doing that is by filtering based on the probability of winning. So let's say I'm going to look at those leads that have more, or those opportunities that have currently more than 30% chance of winning. I'm going to add that filter and let's see how things change. So now we can see Uplead actually went away from this, and instead of Uplead, we have referral and Sharp Spring non-certified resellers are the biggest ones. So it's interesting that even though Uplead gave us a huge number of opportunities, it seems like few or none of them have actually progressed to an advanced stage so far, at least. I can do more analysis. I can group by the deal stage name and see exactly what stage these different opportunities are in. So some of them are in proposal stage, some of them are in agreement send stage, and so on. I can further drill over here and get the exact opportunity names. So which ones of these opportunities are at an advanced stage and again coming in from the stock campaigns. And I can change this to a table to get the name of the opportunities. So these are the 5 opportunities that actually came in from Sharp Spring non-certified resellers, and that have a pretty high probability of being of winning, so more than 30% at this point at least. So that gives a sense of how Cubo can be used to identify campaigns and effectiveness of these campaigns, and how they are helping and how they're leading to well qualified opportunities that progress well. So let's dig a bit more into opportunity progression. So let's say I want to find the number of opportunities in the last 2 years, maybe quarterly, and by win status. So how many opportunities did we win? Did we lose? How many are still open? Show it to me quarterly. And so now I see over here, it's come as a table, but again, I can make it to a line chart. And let me add this to the board as well, because it's kind of some interesting statistics over here. So I see that in 2019 Q4, there were quite a few opportunities that were on the table at least, but many were lost, a few were won. But in the last 2 quarters, there's been a big increase in number of open opportunities, and maybe those come from those leads as well that we kept getting into the system. There've been wins have been steady over the few quarters, but lots of open opportunities. So let's dig into those open ones. So let's remove the win status group by and add a filter to say win status, and I only want the open ones for now. Let's drill into that, and let's see how that looks. So this is the number of open opportunities in the last quarterly, and let's further analyze this and say I want to look at a metric that we call stagnancy status. It is how long it's been since there's been some meaningful contact with a lead in the opportunity. So let's see how those look, and it's going to refresh here. And this gives us a sense of which of those opportunities are progressing well, which are in motion, which are stagnant. So as we see over here, let me change this out and take this to a bar chart. So as we see, there are a couple, so in Q4 2020, most opportunities are in motion, so that's a good sign. And one thing though that's clear here is that there are quite a few opportunities that are quite stagnant. So there are 23 opportunities that are labeled as very stagnant, which means it's been a long time since the previous email was sent to them. And now those are still open. I'm actually going to change this into a grouped bar chart, and let's look at the very stagnant ones. Let's drill down and let's also look at their opportunity names and get those names for these very stagnant ones and convert to a table for now, so I can see exactly. So you can see which opportunities have been very stagnant in the last, especially a whole bunch in Q4 2020. And I can further download this as a CSV file or as an image, and then I can open this up in my favorite marketing automation platform and try to send them a campaign. So let's actually see how different opportunities behave in terms of the email open rate. So I can ask what's the average open rate for the opportunities. And in this case, there are a few different ways of interpreting it. I want the first one. So this is the email open rate to the primary lead in the opportunities. So the last few years, the open rate has been 3.05, which means that when an email has been sent to the primary lead, it's been opened about 3 times. Let's restrict it to the last 12 months and see how that's changed. So in the last 12 months, it's just 1.75, a bit of a decrease. Let's also go quarterly and see how the email open rate has changed. So there was a dip in 2020 Q2, but Q3 and Q4 have seen an increase. Let me add this to the board as well, and let's dig even a bit further. So let's add a new group by, which is the win status, just to get a sense of how different kinds of opportunities progress in terms of how they win. And let's refresh this. And let's see how the open rate might be changing according to the win status. So here we see that opportunities are won. Often the emails are opened at a rate of almost 80 times. So whereas for the lost and open ones, it's much lower. So it's kind of interesting fact that when an opportunity is won, there are about 80 times an email is open on average. So that gives a sense of what to aim for in terms of email campaigns. So let's finally go and see what are these emails that are generating so many opens. So let's just look overall and see which kinds of emails are generating the best open rate. So this gives a sense of what kind of target audience and what kind of wording might be the most applicable. So in this case, the discount email, has an open rate almost 300, which means it's open at least 300 times per send. And a couple of other ones like the follow-up emails and spotlight emails are also have fairly high open rates. So in the last part of the demo, I'm going to look at SEO data just to see how Google search has been affecting or impacting or driving traffic. So I can ask a question like total clicks by landing page. And now it's going to give me the number of clicks. So now there's actually some ambiguity here. So this question could be answered both by Google Analytics and by SEO. But now I want the SEO related data. So for each landing page in this, it's showing me how many clicks have been coming in. So about 40 clicks so far coming to the main website, fewer clicks to the other pages in the website. Let's add a few more metrics like the number of impressions, how many times it's been shown as well. So let's actually just look at that now and see how things change. So interestingly, this last page, the fact that the ShaftSpring certified partner, that page has been at least shown a whole number of times, but clicked fewer times. So maybe this gives us a sense of what where a clicked ad might be, a paid click ad might be useful. And let's add also the average position. So where in the search are these pages being shown? So yeah, so in the case of average position for the last page, the position was 55. So yeah, it's probably not being shown very often, and hence even though there's impressions, there are very few clicks. So finally, now one last question. Let's see who are the top competitors. Who are the top 10 competitors in order of let's say the visibility level, which is how often these competitors are coming up in the same search queries that are leading to our site. So top ones are in terms of visibility level are HubSpot, Marketo, Salesforce, and a few others. So I can add this to the board as well, and that completes the analysis portion. One last thing I'll show is that over the course of this demo, we've collected a whole bunch of interesting charts and tables and other graphics. At any point, I can actually go through them one by one and see how my whole analysis progressed over the last 15-20 minutes or so. So that concludes the demo. Thank you, and looking forward to hearing back from you with any questions or comments. Thanks.